Hello guys, it's Matthias Trades and welcome back to another video. Today we will be going over the whole Twitter Elon Musk deal and breaking down the different events. And hopefully you can learn a little bit about corporate takeovers. Make sure you stay till the end to hear some big undisclosed news pertaining to this emerging story. Without further ado, let's get into this video. This whole ordeal started when it was announced on April 4th, 2022 that Elon Musk had acquired a 9.2% stake in Twitter, making him the single largest individual shareholder. This news resulted in a 27% increase in the share price of Twitter, riding on the hopes that this so-called super genius could help Twitter in any way, shape, or form. You may be thinking, I don't see any problem here. Why have all these events followed? Shortly after this large stake was disclosed, a plan was proposed to get Mr. Musk a seat on the board of directors. This plan fell through, and on April 14th, 2022, Mr. Musk submitted a tender offer of $43 billion or $54.30 a share for 100% ownership of the company. This was the start of the hostile takeover. In order to fully understand what's going on, we must know three basic terms: a tender offer, target company, and acquiring company. Firstly, a tender offer is an offer to buy a company for much more than they're currently priced at. The goal of this offer is to bypass the board and go straight to the shareholders in hopes that the shareholders call a shareholders meeting and basically say to the board, this is a lot of money, you must respond to this offer. Secondly, we have the target company. The target company is the company that is the target of the corporate takeover. In this case, it would be Twitter. On the other hand, we have our acquiring company, or acquiring person rather, that is trying to take over the company. In this case, that person would be Elon Musk. Now that we understand these terms, let's move on to the tactics Mr. Musk has used so far and can use to take over Twitter. Mr. Musk was most likely able to sneak up on Twitter using the Dawn Raid maneuver. In this maneuver, Musk stayed under the radar, sending out buy orders for the target company's shares to various brokers with instructions to purchase stock at market open. This does two things. Number one, it allows Mr. Musk to pick up shares at the current market price before the market has any time to react. Number two, it hides his identity behind the brokers so the target company has no clue who hit them. Well, at least it temporarily does. This is thanks to the Williams Act that was passed by Congress in 1968. The act requires that any corporate stock acquisition of 5% or more must be reported to the SEC. This form is known as a Schedule 13D and must be filed within 10 days of the purchase. There's also a list of information that must be disclosed that I will post here. Now, this attack isn't purely one-sided. Twitter has many tactics it can use to prevent this unwanted raid. Twitter has a couple tactics they can use to stop this takeover. Firstly, they can use the sandbag defense. In this tactic, the target company has to stall the raider enough to where a white knight can come in with a better offer. Secondly, and this is probably the most popular technique, is something called a poison pill. Poison pills are designed to make a company unattractive to raiders in hopes that they lose interest in acquiring the company. The key here is to not make it into a suicide pill, which is where the company becomes so unattractive that the stock never recovers. The two common tactics of the poison pill are the flip in and flip over. The flip in tactic, which is the most popular, is when a company's shareholders are allowed to buy more stock at a discounted price. This weakens the raider's position by diluting his or her shares. On the other hand, the flip over tactic is less common and allows shareholders to buy stock in the acquiring company for a bargain basement price. The acquiring company has to honor the plan since it is written in the target company's shareholder rights plan. The flip over technique isn't quite possible in this case because Twitter can't buy shares in Elon Musk and certainly wouldn't want to buy shares in the extremely expensive Tesla company itself. The last method is the macaroni defense, which is where a target company issues bonds at a very special pledge. If the company is taken over, the bonds must be redeemed for more money. In the case of a takeover, the corporate debt expands like macaroni in boiling water. In order for this method to be effective, the bond issue has to be large enough to spook the raider. This one has a huge downside though, which is increased debt and the expense of interest payments. If successful, this will leave the company strapped with this new large liability. I mentioned one of these knights earlier in the video. There are 3 main knights sitting at our round table. The White Knight offers a way out of the hostile takeover, usually through a friendly takeover. Secondly, we have the Dark Knight, and no, I'm not talking about Batman. The Dark Knight is essentially the bad guys. They are our hostile takeover artists. In this case, it would be Elon Musk. Our Yellow Knight starts off as a Black Knight, but then eventually strives to make terms that are mutually beneficial for both parties. It's hard to know exactly what Mr. Musk's motives for acquiring Twitter are. He stated that he wants to make Twitter a private company and that he wants people to be able to speak more freely on this service. He essentially believes that Twitter has a whole bunch of untapped potential. Now, figuring out whether this is his actual motives is much harder to figure out. Some people have come out and said that this is another one of his attention grabs. Some would even speculate that the richest man on earth is in need of cash, and this is a way of him making some money.
Hey, Jared, shut your fucking mouth.
Acquiring a company isn't easy, and Mr. Musk has to be prepared with an adequate exit plan if things don't go his way. The easiest and most viable one is something called greenmail. Similar to blackmail, this tactic is used by corporate raiders to force a target company to buy back its own shares at an inflated price. The greenmail demand is announced and the target company buys back its own shares to stop the takeover. Overall, wait, hold up. Getting a call from a secret source. Hello? Yeah. I'll check. Yeah. You have the info? Okay. Wow. Oh my gosh, my secret sources told me that Elon Musk has lined up the funding he needs for his proposed takeover of Twitter. In a new filing with the SEC on April 21st, Musk laid out his plan for the $46.5 billion worth of loans that will allow him to finance the buyout offer he made on April 14th. The funding is provided through 2 debt commitment letters from Morgan Stanley Senior Funding, in which the bank commits to offering a series of loans worth $25.5 billion. The remaining $21 billion will be covered by Mr. Musk himself. Anyways, I thank my source.
Okay.
Overall, corporate takeovers can be dangerous for both parties involved. Oftentimes they lead to the loss of many jobs within the company that is being raided. Both parties have a rough path ahead of them, and I hope as the dust settles, Twitter, its shareholders, and the consumer are better off. I'm Matthias Trades, and I'm out.